Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. This will be part 14, chapters 26 and 27. Chapter 26 of Home and Rest. The train ride is blessedly quiet. Not many people taking this route this early in the day. Izuku spends the majority of the train ride leaning against the window, watching the scenery. Shouta sits next to him, while Hisashi sits directly in front. Ida and Todoroki are sitting as far away from their teachers as they can while still being in plain sight. Once they reach the station, they find Midnight waiting for them, ready to drive them home. Ida's parents meet them there, and awkward introductions are made. Todoroki just waves to them and walks in the direction of someone so similar-looking that can only be his sister. The trip in Midnight's car is awkward. Izuku doesn't know the pro-hero well. Hisashi sits in the front next to her, while Shouta sits in the back with him. Midnight must be a rambler when she's in an awkward position, because she will not stop talking. It's made Shouta roll his eyes with a fond smile at least 5 times now, and those are only counting the ones he's caught. It's probably at least double that. Izuku is so relieved when they pull up to the apartment building. He's got his seatbelt undone before the car is even parked. He knows better than to try and get out of the car without help. Zashi opens his door and helps him out of the car before letting him attempt the walk himself. He manages until they're inside the building. The elevator has an out-of-order sign posted on it. They live on the 5th floor. His leg and torso are already causing him pain. Izuku knows he will never make it up those stairs. Hop on. His musings are interrupted when Shouta squats low in front of him, back bared in a familiar position. Izuku climbs on his back without complaining. It'll be easier this way. He glances behind him halfway up the first set of stairs and regrets it immediately. He's higher up than he would be if he was walking, and if Shouta were to slip or drop him, it would be a long and painful fall. He tightens his grip around Sho's neck when they start up the 3rd set of steps and buries his face in the man's capture weapon. Going up the stairs on someone's back is not as fun as he thought it would be. He doesn't look up until they're standing in front of their door, with Hisashi inserting the key. As soon as they enter, the cats are curling around Shota's ankles, but the man easily bypasses them to put Izuku gently down on the couch, up against the right armrest. The man isn't even out of breath from carrying him up 4 sets of stairs. Zashi is shoving a warm blanket onto him, and Izuku rearranges it how he likes it before the cats are on the couch, both of them trying to fit on his lap. Radio shoves Toothless to the side, and she digs her claws into his thigh to regain balance. Normally, he doesn't mind, but it's his left thigh, right where he got stabbed, and he can't help the cry of pain that escapes him. It's not nearly as bad as when he got the wound, but he hasn't taken anything for the pain today, and it was already hurting from the effort that walking took. So the dig of her little claws feels awful. He knows he's panicking, but he hasn't had to calm himself down alone ever since he moved in with Zashi and Sho. So it's hard to remember how, especially with how short his breaths are getting. There are hands on his neck. They're warm and calloused, and most of all, familiar. It's enough to bring him back from the brink of panic, and he blinks through tears to see Sho's concerned face. He reaches up with shaking hands and wraps them around Shota's wrists, keeping his hands where they are, as he uses the pressure to ground himself and breathe through the pain. It's several minutes before he's calmed down long enough to let go of Shouta, and when he does, the man slowly removes his hands, and Izuku immediately misses their presence. "Thank you, Sho." His voice feels wrong in his throat, and he knows that today will be a hard one for talking. Only now does he register the warm hand rubbing comforting circles on his back, and the soothing voice of Zashi muttering reassurances. He leans into the touch and sighs, closing his eyes and trying his best not to move. There's a soft tap on his head that has Izuku opening his eyes, and he finds Shouta standing above him. He's got a glass of water in one hand, and some pills that he hopes are painkillers in the other. Izuku's favorite sweater is slung over an arm. He hadn't meant to steal Hisashi's sweater, it just sort of happened. It's the sweater that Shouta threw on him the night they rescued him. It was the first time in forever that Izuku felt warm and safe. He'd worn it again after the hospital and just kind of kept wearing it. It's like a comfort item for him now. He always feels at home when he wears it. He doesn't realize that he's spaced out until there's the cool press of the glass in his hand and Shota's giving him a funny look. He accepts the glass and pills, then hurriedly shoves the sweater over his head. There's a thump as something falls out of the pocket, and Izuku stares at his phone from where it now sits on the floor, mocking him. Hisashi huffs a laugh as he leans over and grabs it. He hands Izuku the device before settling back on the couch beside him and turning on the TV. He carefully avoids the news and settles on one of his favorite movies, a Star Wars rerun, as Shouta sits next to Zashi, leaning into him slightly with a smile on his face. The sight is heartwarming to Izuku. When he'd first come to stay with his teachers, it had been weird. They were all awkward around each other, and Izuku could tell that they were trying to be less affectionate with each other for his sake. He had felt like a kid with fighting parents for a bit, until they realized that he simply did not care, and presumably went back to how they were together before he arrived. It's nice to see how much they care for each other. The cats come slinking back into the room, approaching him warily. Radio jumps up first, settling on the armrest to his right. Toothless is a lot more hesitant as she crawls onto his lap, carefully avoiding his legs. She rubs her head against his arm in apology before laying down, a comforting weight on his lap. Izuku turns his attention to his phone and grimaces. There are several missed calls and texts from Shinsou and even a few messages from Kirishima. He'd pawned his phone off to Shouta when he and Hisashi had met him at the hospital. He's glad he did. He'd seen how overwhelmed Todoroki and Ida had gotten, with text from friends and family when they found out that they were in the hospital. He decides to check on the messages from Kirishima first. "Midoriya, are you okay? I saw on the news that our senseis and an intern took down the hero killer. I know you were interning with Present Mike." "Midoriya?" "That's it, I'm calling Sensei." "He says that you're fine, but could you text me back when you get these?" Izuku didn't think Kirishima would get so worried about him. He texts him back right away. "Sorry, Kirishima, didn't have my phone. I'm a little banged up, but I'll be okay." He leaves it there and finds similar messages from Shinsou. There are just a lot more of them, plus all the missed calls. "Sorry, I'm fine. A little hurt, but I'll survive." Shinsou must have been waiting for his answer because not 3 seconds after he sends the message, his phone rings. He hits answer and holds the phone up to his ear, completely unprepared. "Midoriya, what happened? Are you all right?" I... His guardians look over at the sound of his voice as his throat clogs up. He can't speak, and Shinsou is still talking in his ear, trying to get him to say something. He shoves his phone at Zashi, and the man squeals a little before glancing at the caller ID and holding the phone to his ear. "Shinsou, he's fine. Sorry, but he's not really up to leaving the house right now." It's hard hearing only one side of the conversation, but he can always guess at what's being said. "Izuku, Shinsou wants to come over. Do you want to see him?" Izuku shrugs, unsure. His friend has always been a comforting presence, especially with everything that's been going on with him the past few weeks, but Izuku doesn't know if he's up to seeing anybody right now. He jumps a little as Zashi gives him back his phone. He really wanted to see you, so I said he could come over for a bit. The second things go poorly, he's gone. Okay? Izuku nods, grateful for his quick thinking. Chapter 27 of Friends and Visits. It's not long before there's a hard knock on the door, and Izuku readies himself when Zashi gets up to answer it. He returns a few moments later, Shinsou trailing behind him, and sits down on the floor in front of Shouta, leaving the empty space on the couch for their guest. Shinsou keeps giving them funny looks as he sits as far away from the pros as he can. What is it? Izuku signs to him. They look so weird in casual clothes. Why is Aizawa-sensei wearing pink pants and a Present Mike t-shirt? Present Mike has his hair down. Shinsou had leaned forward to whisper to him, but judging from the looks on his guardians' faces, Izuku assumes they heard every word. Tired Dad keeps claiming that he grabbed the wrong shirt, but after the fourth time I stopped believing him. Shinsou barks out a laugh before covering his mouth, eyes fearful, as if he thinks that he'll get in trouble for laughing. Shouta shoots them an odd look before turning back to the movie, pretending he's not watching every little movement that Izuku makes. They watch a few more scenes before Izuku is tapping Shinsou on the shoulder to get his attention. You won't get in trouble for having fun. I think Loud Dad would get mad if you didn't. Shinsou raises his eyebrows before turning and looking at the adults. Shouta has scooted closer to the edge of the couch, feet planted on either side of Hizashi. Shou's got his fingers buried in his husband's hair, weaving it together carefully with a soft smile on his face. Izuku pulls out his phone and quickly takes a photo before shoving it back in his pocket. Shouta gives him a suspicious look at the movement, but doesn't say anything. This is so weird. They're just like regular people. You know they both know sign language, right? Shinsou turns horrified to them and finds them both looking at him. Shou with a glare and Zashi with a funny look on his face. Now that Hizashi is looking right at him, Izuku holds up his hands to sign again. Are you going to braid Tired Dad's hair next? It will look so good. Zashi smiles at him before turning to Shouta, who had seen the signs as well. Please, Shou, it always looks so good on you. Shouta ties off the braid before sighing. Fine, but don't be mad if I fall asleep again. They switch positions and Izuku watches, enraptured, as Zashi begins to comb through Shouta's hair with his fingers. He's not even watching the movie anymore, too focused on how relaxed his guardians look. Shinsou is gaping beside him as he takes another photo. If any of your friends see that problem child, you'll regret ever taking the photo. How did he see that? His eyes have been closed since the moment he sat down. Plus, Izuku wouldn't dare show that to anyone. He might be thinking of printing out the pictures and taping them up in his room, but he'd never show them to anybody. Shouta's eyes snap open the second that Hizashi ties off the braid. He stands and stretches, muttering about going for a nap before he disappears. A nap sounds really nice right now, but Izuku has a friend over. He can't leave Shinsou to go nap. He'll just have to tough it out and sleep when he's gone. It's probably better for his sleep schedule anyways. A loud explosion in the movie startles him, and he jumps a little, grabbing Shinsou's hand before he registers what he's doing. The other boy doesn't say anything, just adjusts his hand so that it's clasping his more comfortably. Izuku tries to focus all of his attention on the movie and petting Toothless in his lap. She is loving the attention and is purring loud enough that it's distracting him from the movie. Radio disappeared around the same time as Shou, probably to go bother him while he sleeps. The warm hand in his keeps him distracted, though. Shinsou's hand is rough with calluses, but gentle in the way it grips his own. Their hands fit together perfectly, and Izuku decides that he likes holding hands with the other boy. He leans into him a bit more, yawning as he does so. It's around the third time he jolts awake that Zashi pauses the movie and speaks in a quiet voice to Shinsou. His friend places a gentle hand on his shoulder before speaking. "I've got to go now, Midoriya, or I'll be late for my internship. See you at school." The next thing Izuku is aware of is Zashi gently laying him down on the couch and tucking the blanket more firmly around him, before the quiet sounds of Star Wars resumes, and he knows nothing. It's hours later that he regains consciousness, drawn by the smell of food and murmuring voices in the kitchen. He feels well rested. He'd slept for longer in the hospital, but he's never been able to have good sleeps while he's there. It's always been frequent wake-ups and what feels like forever until he was able to fall back asleep. He sits up very slowly, being extra careful with all of his stitches. He's a little sore from how he was laying, but it's nothing he can't deal with. He sits there for a few minutes, unsure of whether or not he wants to risk the pain and move to the kitchen, or just wait until someone returns. He's rubbing the sleep from his eyes when the sound of footsteps approach the couch. He looks up and finds Shouta, carrying a plate and glass that he sets on the coffee table beside him. He gives his head a little pat before returning to the kitchen without uttering a word. Izuku manages to eat half of his lunch before he has to stop, feeling a little nauseous. He doesn't know if it's because he just woke up, or the small amount of pain he feels is making him feel sick. All he knows is that when Shouta returns and finds his place half full and frowns, he feels like he's disappointed the man. When Sho finally leaves after too long of staring in silence, Izuku slowly gets up from the couch. He limps to the washroom before retreating to his own room and settling down on his bed. He picks up the notebook that's sitting on the desk and cracks it open. They'd started putting everything in code the other night, transferring the information over to new, undamaged notebooks. He works like that for a few hours, ignoring the steadily growing pain that he's in. "Izuku, it's almost time for dinner." Izuku looks up and finds Sho standing in his doorway, hair still braided. "I'm not hungry." It comes out as hardly a mumble, but from the frown on his face, Izuku can tell that Shouta understood it perfectly. "You need to eat something. You've hardly had anything today." Izuku knows this, knows that eating will probably help him feel better instead of worse, but he still shakes his head. "Are you feeling sick?" Shota's in the room now, standing near the bed but not coming any closer. Izuku shrugs at the question and continues writing in his notebook. He wonders why Sho hasn't gotten mad at him yet. He knows he's being difficult, but the man has yet to raise his voice once. He and Zashi have all the patience in the world when they're dealing with him. "How about I make you a deal? You come and eat some dinner, and I'll help you with your notebooks afterwards." That's an odd deal to make, but the thought of working on his notebooks again with Shouta is too good to pass up. He had so much fun last time, so he just nods and follows Sho out of his room and to the dining room. He eats more than he thought he would, and eventually passes out working on his notebooks. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 27 of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. Chapter 28 will be up next. I would love to hear the thoughts and reactions you all had to this set of chapters. We're getting that recovery period, and of course Shinsou being brought into it as well, the worry that some of the students in 1A had over Izuku, right, like Kirishima and Shinsou, and of course those ongoing wonderful parental moments with Hisashi and Shota. I think those are going great as well in this fic. The author does such a nice job of really detailing this out. Makes me feel like I'm there in the scene with them. So I think this is fantastic. So drop those comments below for me. Let me know what you're thinking. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.